Well, hello there. This is Shane from Shane's Reviews, and I hope that you are having a great day today. Today, we are going to be talking about Ground Zero by F. Paul Wilson, which is the Repairman Jack Book 13. It was narrated by Christopher Price, and it's about 12 hours long. So, first things first, let's talk about the production for a little bit. The production, right on cue. The narrator, he adds a lot to the story. Phenomenal job taking care of the characters as usual. As far as my feelings on the book, this one, although it seems like it's adding up to a whole lot, doesn't really go much of anywhere. Now, hang on. If you're a big fan, don't go like off just yet. Let me explain what I mean by this. And sometimes in books, whenever you have like these series where you'll have like this subject that should be 3 books long, or this subject that should be 4 books long, etc. There's going to be occasionally a book that's a setup book, and that's what this one is. There's a lot that happens, and I think that might have been part of the reason why I was like, oh, wow, okay. There was a lot that needed to happen to get to the next point. So let's just get into it. Jack has got his usual things that he's doing. He ends up getting kind of pulled into this because of a old-time family friend as he was growing up by the name of Wheezy that was a victim of a hit and run, and that kind of gets the story going. Now, if you remember back a couple of books, there was a person and a group that had this prophet or the seer. They would get these alerts in regards that is helping the forever aged, forever old helper, not good but not bad, but better than the bad side of things. Their responsibility is to let that individual know that, hey, this is coming, so that they can at least have a chance of trying to either prevent, correct, or whatever. We've got all these little things together, plus the story of the kicker men that comes into play in a big way here as well. Jack has been hanging out with them quite a bit, specifically because of a couple of the stories in the past. He's not let go of the ties of them because of the way that the kicker men, and if you remember back to the big columns that have been put everywhere, how all these things are just kind of like checkmarked and just stringed together, right? So he's been involved with them. Wheezy shows up, and come to find out, there's all this stuff that finally gets pulled together the rest of the way for us. That part of it was rather neat. We also have some big reveals in this book about whom this person was or whom this person was. And they were, I believe, mentioned in previous books as well. That was kind of cool to see. I think that the problem with it for me was the pacing in this one compared to other books. There's a rhythm I'm used to whenever it comes to a Repairman Jack book. So I'm not necessarily trashing the book. I'm not doing that at all. This would feel there's a lot of trying to figure things out. And of course, the compendium is going to be in here, the book that's forever changing its pages. And it's much like a Harry Potter type of a thing where illustrations will be animated on the page or this, that, and the other. So that's kind of interesting. Seeing more of that and seeing the way that Wheezy's able to go through this book, etc. Whenever it all comes down to it, there's this thing called the Finchmanka. That is like the adversaries, chaos bringer, I guess is the best way to say it. Anything that this thing will touch can be evaporated, or it's supposed to have all these supernatural powers. And that's the thing that kind of upset me, was the way that the book wrapped up. And it's not that it wrapped up, it kind of fizzled and popped, in my opinion. On the same token, you can't have everything perfect whenever it comes to literature. You can't have every story just the way that you would want, because there might have been a reason for that fizzle pop that is going to tie into the next book. Now, this book is not the same as the rest for sure. There's a character in there, and I can't tell in reprisals if he's saying Leezy or Wheezy. I think it's a different character altogether. In this book, it feels so much different. I don't know if it's because of the narrator in reprisal or what, but I'm not exactly sure if Audible kept me on the straight and narrow whenever it came to the path of which to read these books. So I'm going to have to look into that. In comparison, so far in that one, even though it's a Repairman Jack novel, I've not seen Repairman Jack. It's almost like a side shoot universe book where the characters that are in Repairman Jack, some of them are actually in this book, loosely related. So yeah, that's a thing. We may or may not talk about that book because so far I'm really not sold on it. Back to this one. There's a lot of things that happen inside of the book that are really important to leading up to something in the way that I'm seeing it. And I'm kind of to that point where, let's get off the pot. Let's get it done. Let's see where we're going with this. Now, granted, this is just book 13. So, I mean, yeah, there is that. Sometimes a series can go on just a little too long. If it was my franchise and if I was writing the book, that would have been the pivotal point. That's where I would have made or break, started to, like, close out the series or whatever. But, that's just the way I see it. So that's the question of the week for you guys and gals. What was the last series that you read where you felt like it was awesome, but it just went on just a little too far? Tell me down there. You know what to do. I'd love to know your actual answers. And speaking of which, now for those of you that have been hanging out with us on the short side, right? I appreciate that in a big, big way. So in conclusion, is this book worth your time, efforts, and energies? Maybe. If you're a diehard Repairman Jack fan, you'll make your way through this. But if this is the first time that you've seen one of their books, you probably would want to skip over it. That's where I'm going to put it. I'm 50-50 on if it's worth it or not. But as far as like backstory, lore, etc., that kind of a thing, this book has got a whole lot of that in there. So if that's your thing, this is for you. If you've made it this far, thank you so much for watching. If I could beg off on you, please, if you're not subscribed already, hit that little subscribe button. Just do a little dance on it and make sure you hit the little bell notification so you know when we put our next video out. Thanks for being my hero. I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye. Bye.